she tried to pepper her book with these little, I guess, supposed to be insightful quotes. And I was laughing. And I shouldn't be. I should have been inspired. And one of them was, you cannot be betrayed by someone you don't trust. Duh. What? Am I supposed to like clutch my pearls and be like, girlfriend, preach? No. And that was the type of quotes and phrases that were all throughout this book. And it was like she was trying so hard. And I could feel it. And it was desperate. I didn't like it.
I just love Dawn. This is why we do book talks together. Am I supposed to be clutching my pearls going, yes, girl, preach? Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn. We rate and review the newest and most buzzworthy books. We are true book club girls who don't always agree, but do enjoy a good book discussion. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
Grab your favorite beverage and come and enjoy our universe. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hosts Ashley and Dawn. Today, we are going to be talking about The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Quick disclaimer here, Ashley is currently in the Smoky Mountains, so my internet might be a tad funky for this episode. Hopefully it will not be, but if you hear momentary delays, you know why. Okay, so we are going to start off our podcast with a non-spoiler section with what we liked and what we didn't like about the book, and then we'll go into a spoiler section, and we'll notify you as soon as we're about to do that, just in case you have not read this book and don't want to be spoiled. Also, if you choose to, please like and follow us on our Instagram page, Novel Universe. And you can also download us pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, Dawn, give us that wonderful description.
All right, Dawn is prepared because I have the book in front of me, so I can do the description. Rule number 1, the poison must never be used to harm another woman. Rule number 2, the names of the murderer and her victim must be recorded in the apothecary's register. Okay. One cold February evening in 1791, at the back of a dark London alley in a hidden apothecary shop, Nella awaits her newest customer. Once a respected healer, Nella now uses her knowledge for a darker purpose, selling well-disguised poisons to desperate women who would kill to be free of men in their lives. But when her new patron turns out to be a precocious 12-year-old named Eliza Fanning, an unexpected friendship sets in motion a string of events that jeopardizes Nella's world and threatens to expose the many women whose names were written in the register. There's another little paragraph. Should I read it? Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In present-day London, aspiring historian Caroline Parswell spends her 10th anniversary alone, reeling from the discovery of her husband's infidelity. When she finds an old apothecary vial near the River Thames, she can't resist investigating, only to realize she's found a link to the unsolved apothecary murders that haunted London over 2 centuries ago. As she deepens her search, Caroline's life collides with Nella's and Eliza's in a stunning twist of fate, and not everyone will survive.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, Dawn, what did you rate this book?
I gave this book a 1.5. I hated it. I hated it.
I actually enjoyed it in some parts, so I gave it a 3.
Okay.
I gave it 3.5. And we can also get into that in our likes and dislikes, of course. But I honestly didn't know that your rating was going to be so cutthroat. Now I'm curious to see why.
Yeah.
I actually listened to this book. Okay. And I don't know if it was because I listened to it, but I was very much so, like, in the throes of what was happening. I was like, oh, I got it. Wait, don't talk to me because I'm trying to figure out what's happening right now.
Okay.
So, maybe it was better narrated?
It could be.
Maybe.
That's happened.
But, before. All right, well, we can just get into our dislikes here. My first dislike is Caroline's POV is extremely distracting at times from the story. I found myself wishing that we were more in Eliza and Nella's lives. So the story follows 3 women. 2 of them are based in the 18th century, that you follow their timeline chronologically, and Caroline's is in present day, and hers is obviously not chronologically. And so I found myself really wanting to not listen to what Caroline's story was like. I really wanted to keep myself immersed in Eliza and Nella's world, because you could definitely tell that they were from the different century in some cases, especially in how they were talking and the different writing style that was chosen there. But Caroline's POV, although it could have been done better, it was a little bit distracting.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I didn't like any of the characters, so Caroline's was the worst of the 3, but I didn't like any of them. So.
Okay. What's your first dislike? You didn't like any of them?
So before I give my first dislike, I want to read another paragraph that follows the description. And It says, with crackling suspense, unforgettable characters, and searing insight, The Lost Apothecary is a subversive and intoxicating exploration of women rebelling against a man's world, the destructive force of revenge, and the remarkable ways that women can save each other despite the barrier of time. This book promises a lot, what I just read, and it did not deliver any of that. It was not crackling suspenseful. It was not subversive or intoxicating. Like, none of those things happened. And I was promised a lot, and it didn't deliver. And if you hear some, if you hear some buzzing or fuzzy in the background, it's Ashley's traveling. So yeah. So there's a show on Hallmark Mystery Channel, and my mom watches it. I don't watch it, but there's a show called Aurora Tea Garden. And it stars Candy Cameron, and which means it's going to be super chaste because, she loves the Lord. And there's going to be no murders. I'm sure there might be murders. I don't know. But there is no revenge killing or periods or anything like that in the Aurora Tea Garden. And this read like that. And it's not supposed to, because it's supposed to be about revenge killing and poisoning and all the things it promised that I just read in that little paragraph. And that's it read very sweet and cute. And that's not what I went into this book for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can agree with you in some of those points there. And like I said, I think because I listened to the book, the differences in the women's voices that were speaking helped add to the lack of cuteness. Like, it wasn't, listening to it wasn't cute. But I could see what you're saying, though, if you were reading it. Because I'm like, people narrating and reading are separate things, how we portray them in our world.
Yeah.
My next dislike for this book is that I had an issue, this is again with Caroline, I had an issue with Caroline's husband. Caroline's husband is supposed to be this man that basically is too busy for her, but he wants her to do exactly what he tells her to do, so that way she doesn't have to worry, yada, yada, yada. And lo and behold, we find out that he's been unfaithful, and all of these things. And how his character is portrayed out in the end of this book is kind of contradictory to what his character has been, how he's been portrayed in this book, I guess you can say. Because he does something that is completely out of character for him, and that doesn't quite make sense at all. Like, it's supposed to be like this big mystery thing, and like oh man, can't believe he did that. And I was literally sitting there thinking, like,
That was kind of like a cheap shot. I don't think if I like that, because it doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't apply to his character and how we've been told that he is. So it's completely from left field what he does. We can talk about it more in the spoiler, but it's like I had a problem with him there. And just with the men in general in this book, they were just flat and, inconsequential. Like, you're just kind of like, it's just a woman's book, I guess.
Yeah,
with some sprinkles men.
Yeah, I agree. And that's going to go into my second reason why I don't like this book. It's her writing style. I think that's part of the problem. She's also a debut, which might be a part of the problem as well. But so many of the characters were underdeveloped. I mean, her husband, James, was barely on the page.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit it on the nail when you said, that's not what we were told about him. Well, we shouldn't be told. We should be shown. And there wasn't a lot of showing here. It was a lot of telling. And so when that happens, when something happens out of character, it's just like, oh my God, Aurora T. Garden Mysteries. Like, really? This is...
It did feel very Hallmarky. The ending did. That's probably the best way we could kind of simplify everything, because the way things came together, I was like, this is too sweet.
Yeah.
Too clean.
And also very clean. Clean, Ashley said clean. And it was very quick. Like, I think they had maybe two conversations. And that was the extent of her and James. That's on the lower end of my dislike list, but my next one, like I said, it is the writing style. I felt like this author was trying way too hard to be a critical writer, and it showed, and it wasn't good. And Caroline, which was one of them, like, she's the main character, well, one of them. And like you said, she's going through this. Her husband has cheated on her. She comes to London by herself on her 10th anniversary just to kind of, clear her head or whatever, escape him for a while and clear her head. And you know that she's going to grow, because through the whole book, she's talking about how, like you said, she let him make the decisions for her. She put away her dreams for his dreams and all this stuff. So she's going to grow. But by the middle of the book, this is an example of her growth, which I thought was elementary at best. So James shows up in London just out of nowhere, and he gives her a heads up that he's coming, and he's in the hotel room. She's been out all day, and he's in the hotel room, and let me see. I marked it. So she gets back to her hotel, and she's like, I hesitated in front of my door, wondering if I should knock just in case. No, this is my room. He was the interloper. I slid my keycard into the door and went inside. That's her growth. I'm not gonna knock. And that's the surface level critique we're talking about here. She's writing a book about revenge and feminism, and this is as deep as it gets, folks. That's it. Especially for Caroline. And that's just not good enough. If this is supposed to be a thriller on the level of like Girl on the Train and Gone Girl, and that's kind of like the modern standard right now. That we all can agree to disagree. In my opinion, I liked Girl on the Train because I thought it was very thrilling. It had some feminism and some revenge. Like, that is a feminist revenge book, and it was very thrilling. And if you're kind of comparing this to that, it's not even close as far as the thrilling part or the character development, as far as I'm concerned. Another thing that old girl did, Penner, that's her name. She tried to pepper her book with these little, I guess, supposed to be insightful quotes. And I was laughing. And I shouldn't be. I should have been inspired. And one of them was, you cannot be betrayed by someone you don't trust. Duh. What? Am I supposed to like clutch my pearls and be like, girlfriend, preach? No. And that was the type of quotes and phrases that were all throughout this book. And it was like she was trying so hard. And I could feel it. And it was desperate. I didn't like it.
I just love Dawn. This is why we do book talks together. Am I supposed to be clutching my pearls going, yes, girl, preach? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, just to continue to add to pretty much all the things that we've said that we don't like about this book, I was disappointed in the fact that this book, I was expecting suspense, because that like preview that you're given on the inside of this cover of this book is like, okay, draw me in. I want to know how women back in the 18th century have drawn together to take out men who are either overpowering them or using their masculinity to make their way through the world and to put them under, or whatnot. Okay, like, let me know why this is such a big deal that this is happening. And I still feel like it was very subtle. I wanted a lot more about where the apothecary came from, because we get a little bit of Bella's backstory with her mom and how her mom started the apothecary, and I still feel like, when did this turn into a place that gives out poison to kill? I didn't get that. I was still kind of like waiting for the moment where it was like this big epiphany, and I don't think it was going to be that big epiphany, because it is in relation to how she was hurt in the past.
Yeah, I think that's it.
You know, but what I'm saying is that I wish it was more, because it's cracked up to be this like huge underground place that only women know about, women's servants, and it's super hidden. Like, give me all of that. I want to know why, because every medicine is a poison in itself, right? Everything given to us to help our ailments, if taken in larger quantities, can kill you or can incapacitate you in a very bad way. You know, so it's like, I wanted to know why. And I guess that also goes along the lines of like Eliza trying to, she had this, basically her period came. Can we talk about that? Like, her period came and she thought that a ghost was haunting her because her period came. Did no one talk to this girl about her cycle? She's 12. No one.
No.
And it went on for the majority of the book. How she thought she was being haunted because she had a period. And she didn't know she had a period.
Yeah, I have that on my list as well.
Yeah. It's like, okay, all right.
Not necessarily the period part, but the whole magic thing. She kept talking about magic. But there was it was underdeveloped, and it was resolved, but it was one of those, really, that's it? You talked this the whole time and that's it? And the whole, like you were saying, how she got her period and she thought that the man that she killed was haunting her. Okay. It wasn't like explored at all. And maybe it's your guilty conscience. Are we going to talk about that? Or no, nothing. It just wasn't talked about. It wasn't explored at all. And that is another one of my reasons for disliking this book, is that there was no cohesion in this book. I think the first half of it was okay. But, and I'll get into it more in the spoiler edition, but when this second woman comes into the shop, that's when it all goes downhill. Because it's just like, bam, here comes this woman. It causes all this problem. And it's rush, rush, rush. And it wasn't thrilling. I thought the whole part with Eliza and her poison story, that was a little tense. I was like, okay. But then after that, it was just...
It's kind of mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
It was kind of, because the whole part with Eliza and, you know, what happens in her beginning of the story, I was like, yes, give me more of that. Like, what's going on here? It's like this secret, you know, women's club that only women know about. Like, oh, do you know about that tavern, you know, on Block 3B? If you go back there and you stick your note in a little bucket, basically this woman comes out and she attends to your needs and she'll give you something to help you. Okay. Like, let's use that story. But, what was the next part that I had? I had an issue with the ending.
Yeah. I did too.
I won't go into it. It's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Do you have any other little nitpicks you want to talk about?
Oh, I have nitpicks are separate from this. There was like no foreshadowing, like at all, with the exception of the tagline. The tagline is the only foreshadow, which is rule number 1: the poison must never be used to harm another woman. That's the only foreshadow. You cannot put one foreshadow in your tagline and that's it. That's not how you write a book. So that was a problem. I mentioned the pacing was way too quick. And in the book description, it talks about this apothecary killer. And it's like hyping it up like it's this huge killer and the town is like worried and everyone is like, oh my God, we're all going to be poisoned and die. And nobody thinking about this woman and her poisons. Well, nobody thinking about her. So she built this up to be this apothecary killer. No, it really wasn't.
Yeah. Like, I wanted to know more as to why Nella was the way that she was, you know, like I wanted a better reason. And when I found out the reason, I wasn't okay with it. So that's how I feel. Ashley 1-on-1 over here. When I found out, I didn't like it. So therefore I don't like it.
I have a nitpick. This is one of my bigger nitpicks. Okay. So Eliza is 10 and she grew up on a farm.
No.
Not even grow up. She's from a farm. And one day her mom...
She's 12.
No, she's 10 when the book starts. And one day her mom is like, I need you to get off of this farm because you're just going to rot and die here. And I'm going to take you to London because you can be anything you want in London. This is 1791. What are her options? A seamstress? A cook? Maybe a teacher? Ain't like she gonna be an architect or a doctor. I'm like, you mean to tell me you dropped your daughter off 10 in a huge city so that she can be anything she wants? This ain't 1980? What was that? That was so stupid, Ashley. I lowered my rating immediately. So she can go and work for some woman. Okay.
I said you were feisty reading this, weren't you, Dawn?
I was very upset. I was upset. That's nitpick number 1. Did you have any nitpicks?
My next little nitpick is that the woman that comes into the apothecary, the fact that like that was the start of the demise of everything, I didn't like that. I wish it was something else. It was just too like, you're gonna do what I say, and there you go. And Nell was like, well, no, I'm not. And then she was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to, you know. And the whole entire time, I'm like, is this woman dying? Is it, like, what's going on with her? Like, I didn't like that because I felt like Eliza and Nella were too smart to mess something up. Does that make sense?
No, they weren't smart enough to mess something up, because this woman kept a freaking book of every murder and murderer out in the open. But
yeah,
they're dumb.
No, the whole bottle situation thing. I still wanted to just be like, okay, I'm not going to go into any more detail, but it has to do with this woman, and there's a bottle and whatever. So, yeah. We could probably just cut it here.
Yeah.
That way we don't give any more of the story.
I do have, yeah, we'll cut that for the spoiler-free part. This is a tiny nitpick, but because I was so bored, sometimes when I'm bored and I read a book, I notice little stupid stuff. Whereas if a book was actually good, I would be distracted, but I wasn't distracted. So when Caroline first goes into the library, and she goes up to the Cirque lady, and she's like, "Can you please tell me about where to find gay? What's her name? Gaynor."
Gaynor, yeah.
And the librarian says, "How am I supposed to know who that is? We have 2,000 employees. Can you be more specific? How many people named Gaynor are living and working at this library?" I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, not Gaynor from adult fiction. No, it's Gaynor from Maps. Old things, Maps. Oh my god.
Okay. You spent way too much time on your minutes.
It was so boring. I was noticing all this dumb stuff. And that was one of them.
So you said it.
It's not like her name was Jane or Emma, which is like stereotypical British names. Gaynor?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a family name out there.
But like a whole bunch of people are named Gaynor at this library.
Gaynor Maps. Sorry.
Okay, and my last nitpick was, I swear everybody in this book was pregnant. Everybody.
Oh, yeah. Everybody had a pregnancy problem, or wanted to be pregnant, or lost a baby, or something.
Or just had a baby.
Yeah.
Or...
There's something in the water, apparently.
Oh, my God.
It's that River Thames. That's what I'm blaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
That's all my nitpicks. I'm done.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we'll move on to likes. Do you have any over there?
The only reason why this book got a 1.5, not a 1, is because I like the idea. That's it. And maybe the cover. That's it.
Okay, well then, Ashley, you just had to sit back and listen to my likes, because I had to listen to all your little nitpicking schnickens over there.
Okay.
Okay, so for me, I really did appreciate Penner's attempt to come up with this historical fiction idea of an apothecary that is out there basically aligning with women to empower them and to make them feel like they have ownership over their own bodies in a world that's predominantly male run, to have that. I really liked that. I loved Nella's story because I really wanted just more of her and what's going on in her life and how she's just by herself. Like, I was always like, what's happening with her? I was always very excited to listen to her. I did enjoy, I also didn't like it as well, but I also did like it. Eliza's naiveness in a lot of mannerisms, I did enjoy, because historically it was correct with her not understanding what's happening to her body. She had no woman around in her life to tell her, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. But even her, I just wanting to find a way to help Nella, and, you know, even going so far as to find a magical shop, if you will, to try and find some sort of potion to help her. I was like, okay, that's true to her character. I enjoy that. Let's see. I loved Caroline's hunt for the apothecary, like kind of going back in time, in the fact that she still had to dig around to find where this apothecary was all on her own. And it wasn't something that was written down. It was still kind of sealed off from people's eyes. I enjoyed that. Do you have another nitpick? I mean, another like pick?
I do not.
Let's see. For a long time in the book, I did enjoy the scandal of the poisoning, basically. Especially the first part of the book where we learn about Mr. Amswell. Is that who it is? You know, and how he gets poisoned and whatever. I was like, that's genius. Like, sticking it in something and masking the disguise of it and you not realizing it, you know, and use a bottle that's not even dated, so then that way they don't know where it came from. Like, this is just genius. But yeah, I did enjoy the attempt of this story because it was something different and it was refreshing and there wasn't 1,000 million characters that I had to keep track of. So I guess that ends our spoiler free.
Before we go into...
You have another one?
No, I don't have another one, but before we go into the spoiler free, I just want to mention some books that I thought did this topic way better. And these books are all YA books, which a lot of people are like, YA is stupid. All it's found is love triangles and ugh. Well, these are not. These are actually pretty good critical books. And they are 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All by Julie Berry, I want to say. No. Laura Ruby. Oh my goodness. Laura Ruby. Damsel by... Why did I not write these people's names down?
Damsel's so good. I read Damsel.
I can't remember
the name. Recently.
Sadie by Courtney Summers is revenge, and it's thrilling. Yep. It's fantastic.
Yep.
And The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. So those are all books that are similar to this. It's about women joining together or seeking revenge because men have done them wrong. Some of these have some supernatural things going on in them, and they're all far better than this. And they're all young adults. Okay, you can do spoilers now. I'm done.
I'm done. Okay, so we are going to spoil it for you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where would you like to start, Don?
Okay, let's start with the period thing. So she seemed, Penner, that's her name, Penner, right? She seemed to be trying to say something with that. And usually when people put menstruation, like menses, I can't remember what it's called, your first time, there's usually a reason for that. It's almost always feminist. And so she gets hers when she kills Mr. Atwell. And that's it? Does that mean she's a woman now because she had her first murder? I don't know what Penner was trying to tell me with that. Because it's just kind of...
I don't understand it either. Because I don't know if it was just the time frame of it all, or if it was to frame Eliza as a naive, like, little maid in a house that literally has no idea about life outside this world. Or outside of the four walls that she's in, right? You know, she's literally taking care of her mistress by writing letters, and that's pretty much all she does. Like, she's just there to help the mistress there. So I don't know if it was to play on the fact of this type was happening back in the day, often that we bringing, you know, girls into these big houses and then being used and abused by the masters, but they didn't really know because they have no idea how their own body works. We don't know. That's what I was waiting for as well, because it's like we don't know why the period thing was an issue for so long. Like, is it talk about like it's a ghost of her past? Are you trying to make her feel bad for what happened? I don't know.
I think you just answered it. I think before her period, she was a naive little girl. And then after her period, which coincidentally coincided with her killing someone, now she's a woman. Mm-hmm. Okay, I've read that 1,000,000 times. What else you got? Like, I just felt like that was pointless, almost.
Well, it was pointless in the fact that it was brought up so much and it wasn't really answered. I was still waiting for the big moment as to why that was the big deal. And then even with Nella, you know, and, well, do you want to talk about that? Her story? So, and even with Nella's story, you know, her revenge on men started when she was basically used by a man that came in and basically was, you know, asking for a potion to help heal his sister, when in turn was actually his wife from a pregnancy, and yada, 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 and all this stuff like that. And he gets her pregnant. Well, lo and behold, he actually ends up poisoning her and makes her lose the baby because he doesn't want to have a baby with her because he's married. You know, and this whole, like, twisted thing. And it's like, I wanted more of her story of why she just started to hand out poisons to not just to help women, but to help them achieve taking out the men that are ruling their lives. I wanted to know why that was such a big deal. Because it didn't seem very, like, yes, she was hurt. Yes, she was wanting revenge in some manner, but I don't recognize the turn as to when that became a lifestyle, that she's hiding this apothecary from everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, well, obviously it's the author's fault for not creating a world where we see a lot of women being used and abused. We just see it with Eliza and Caroline and Nella, and that's it. But what about women on the street or other women that she's helped? Or, you know, there could have been some flashbacks of other women or something. Mm-hmm. And this book is only 300 pages, and it shows, because she didn't take any time to really develop the world. We're just supposed to know what it's like in 1791 England. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because I guess I was waiting for her to go through, like, the registry that she kept of all of the women that came asking for stuff to help them with. And, like, really going into, like, well, you know, Susan B. was being abused by her husband, so I gave her a tonic so then that way she could subdue him, so then that way he wouldn't do that to her anymore. Like, we didn't get those little, like, stories at all. We only got the fact that Nella would not give out poison to harm another woman, and she stuck by that.
And then when she did, that's when all hell broke loose, which is what I'm assuming what that means, which is cool. I mean, great. I mean, she doesn't do it on purpose because the woman was threatening to, you know, expose her. So she didn't have a choice, really. And I guess you could say I kind of like that. That's where it went downhill when she accidentally killed another woman or tried to. She broke her own rule. But yeah. It just wasn't enough meat on the bones of this steak to create a good story. It was so much missing.
Mm-hmm. I did like the fact that, like, River Thames is, like, a real place, that there's, like, a bunch of stuff there, you know? Like,
is that a real thing?
I believe it is.
I know River Thames is a real river, but I don't know if muckraking or whatever they were doing is a real thing. I was going to look it up, and then I didn't care to, because I didn't care. What else was I going to say? I don't know if anything, well, let's talk about the end, because some of the stuff I have to say is mostly why I didn't like the book. It's not really about spoilers.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Caroline and James first?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. You know, so Caroline's on this hunt to basically uncover the apothecary, right? Because she's found the bottle and she's determined to find where this apothecary was. And lo and behold, like, she does find it, and she starts taking pictures of the registry and, like, all the stuff like that has not been discovered before, and she's writing out all these poisons. Her husband's sick, and he comes in and asks if she has Dayquil, right? And he ends up taking eucalyptus oil and ingests it to get her freaking attention because she has left him and doesn't know if she's pregnant or not yet, right? Because everybody's trying to get pregnant or is not pregnant or whatever in this book, and so she is on the cusp of discovering what happened to this apothecary, and her husband gets taken to, she has to take her husband to the emergency room because he's literally like vomiting blood and pale and like just very, 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 very sick. And she's being questioned by the police and all stuff like that, which I thought that whole part was great. Because I'm like, who is doing research on an apothecary and is writing a list of freaking poisons that are lethal to kill someone? And the amounts that they are lethal. And she's having to explain herself to the police officers like, listen, it's just research. I didn't try to kill my husband, which, by the way, he's been unfaithful. But I'm not going to tell you that because now that's a motive for me to do something to him. Like, all of that was genius. But the fact that James does it willingly, I was like, where did that come from? Like, he tried to kill himself or bring himself close to death just to get his woman back to him. What in the world was that? I was like, oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no. No.
Yeah. I kind of saw, I didn't see it coming too far ahead of time, but I did not see it coming at all. I called it because there was some weird behavior before it. Like when he was sick, he comes into the hotel and he's like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Can you leave? Can you get out of the room? Instead of, can you help me? Because I don't feel good. He was like, oh my God, I'm going to vomit. Can you leave the room, please? Okay, that was odd. And she responds, he doesn't like to be sick around people. Doesn't want people to see him sick. And I'm like, and I'm thinking about my own husband, right? Like, when you're like in the thralls of vomiting, you at least check on your significant other, right? I don't think I've ever asked him to leave the like vicinity ever. No. I'll call you in if I need help. Yeah, I guess that was a point right there. That was odd. But
it was odd.
I don't know if I would necessarily say it was out of character for James because he seemed to be pretty manipulative. I do think that was extreme. Like, almost killing and poisoning yourself. I mean, I guess he had to poison himself because this is what this book is about, poisoning. I suppose. But that's really extreme. And the build-up and the climax and the resolution all took place in a 10-page chapter. Mm-hmm. Yep. Maybe 10 pages.
Yep.
That's how quick the pacing of this book was, and it affected the intensity of it. Because Gaylord comes in and is just like, oh no, she's doing research, I'm a librarian, here's my library card. Okay, bye. Like, and then all is well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's making me wanting to lower my rating, like as I keep talking about it even more, because it did play out like a Hallmark film would. Like,
oops, officer, misunderstanding. Oh, ha ha ha, Aurora Teagarden, you're so funny. Whoopsie. That's kind of how it was.
Is she gonna back me up? I really hope she backs me up. That she can see from my eye look that I need her right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what is this, like women banding together to save the world?
Exactly. And this is what I'm talking about. The writing is trying too hard because Gaylord or Gaynor, whatever her name is, comes in to help her because women take care of each other. Yay! That's what that was. That's all that was.
Yeah.
They support each other.
Part I didn't like that because it could have been conveyed without having to say it, but it had to be said. And I was like, you could have wasted the words on something else, please. Maybe going into depth about other things. Well, and then I do like the fact that she leaves him. Can we just talk about that? I like the fact that Caroline leaves her husband. Like, she makes that decision. There isn't no, like, I'm going to stay with you. It's fine. I forgive you.
Well,
I know you were only trying to be there for me.
She has to leave him. It's growth. You can't write a quote-unquote feminist book and let the woman go back with the cheater. That can't happen.
Oh, but still, I'm glad that she doesn't. I would have been mad if she did.
Well, that whole thing I was rolling my eyes because, of course, she recalls something Bachelor Bob says about follow your instincts and your dreams and not your eyes, or some bullshit he said. I was just like, oh, here we go. Here he comes back full circle. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Try hard.
Should we talk about Eliza and her brave attempt?
Yep.
Okay. Can I just say, I cannot believe she jumped in first. I still, like, I applaud it. This is why I loved Eliza. Because her naiveness yet again was like, it's okay. I'm going to go in first. It'll be fine. I promise you. It'll be just fine. You know, it was just like that little kid-like thinking. Like, you still have hope and faith in these magnificent things that are going to happen in this world. And she had no idea if this potion was going to work, right? She had no idea that it was going to. She just literally took it from a boy that was like, I am a product of it, and because of it, this is why I'm here today. But we still don't know if it was magic or if it was just coincidence or whatever. And she just takes it as like, it's truth. It's like, this is just such little kid thinking. I still cannot believe she jumped.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting her to jump. I was expecting her to not die, though, because clearly Tom was going to end up being her husband. I mean, that was kind of obvious because this author doesn't just throw in a character for no reason. Mm-hmm. There's so few characters in this book. Like, that random kid that just came up and spoke to her. Clearly, he's coming back in the story. And her whole belief and hope and faith and magic was going to work. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily hate it because I didn't see it coming. But it wasn't enough to absolve this book for me. Mm-hmm. And I was also calling her Elle Fanning. Felt like I needed to say that.
Oh, man. See, I forgot that John was the dude that she met with. And so when she, like, ends up marrying him, I was like, who is this guy? Like, oh. Oh, man. But I wanted to, poor Nella, I wanted to know what robbed her of her time. Like, did she have a stroke? Was she dying of cancer? Was she dying because she ingested too many poisons and it all caught up to her?
Well, she said her mom died of the same thing.
Yeah.
So
but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know what it is. And I want to know, did she die on the steps in front of that house? That was never documented. It was like her body just became like a wraith in the wind.
I think I had given up by then. I don't know. I was so happy to be done. Do you know when you are not enjoying a book and you think you're done and you turn the page and there's another chapter and you're like, oh my God, end, please. That's what it was for me. Like, oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Yeah, I did not see Eliza coming back. I really didn't. And that probably was just because my brain was focusing on other things as well. And so when she did, I was like, oh, it worked. Oh, cool. Oh, she's alive. That means that Nella's not alive. And then I wanted to know if she held on to the apothecary legacy. And she did a little bit with her man. So that was kind of cute. And she kind of just dropped it. So, yeah. That's all I really have to say. Unless there's something else you want to talk about.
Nope.
Okay, well, you guys, that has been our review of The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Join us in a few weeks. We are going to be discussing Book 2 in the King of Scars duology. So we're going to be reading Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. And if you have not heard, the Grisha universe is coming to Hulu?
Netflix
for Shadow and Bone. So if you have not read that series, that is her first series, and it is in the Grisha universe. Grisha universe.
I think it's Grisha.
And
it's like Russian.
Grisha?
Yeah.
Grisha universe. It's coming to Netflix. So we are super pumped because Dawn is a Bardugo fan. So is Ashley, but Dawn is way more of a fan than Ashley is. So we're very excited to discuss our next book with you guys. Until next time, we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.